My name is Edna Redo, and I'm from Chicago. I went to Curie High School here in Chicago. Graduated in 1986 rather. One year, my junior year of high school, my mother was an English teacher, so it was just not for us to not pass English, not pass literature, any of that. You know, all of our classes, but definitely those two classes. And that particular year, I just knew I was going to pass, and I got 5 Fs. 5 Fs and 1 C. She got to school and got my grades, and she seen the 5 Fs and 1 C, and it was just like she literally beat me in the car from the school to my house, like whoop me, because she was that type, she would whoop you. But when we got home and after everything settled, you know, she always called me Pookie. I was her Pookie. And she told me, she said, I just want you to be able to make it in society. And I love you. You are always my Pookie. You're going to always be my baby, because I'm the oldest. So there was always that special bond between me and my mother. So I was always her Pookie. But when it came to school, she did not play with me and my sister and my brother at all. In 1993, my mother found out about my sexuality. My sister, my brother, and I, we were all at home, and she was in her bedroom, and she came out of the room. She was getting calls from some of the members that belonged to the church. And they were calling her, telling her things that they had heard. And we were all sitting at the table just talking, and she came out of the room, and she looked at me and she said, I don't care what you're doing, but you better not do that shit in my house. I never came out to her because I knew how she felt about it. We had talked about it before. It had came up in conversations with our best friend before. And the conversations that I heard were not pleasant. So I knew that I couldn't talk to my mother about it. But once it came out, it actually came out a couple weeks before my mom passed. And we were in the process of, you know, taking her back and forth to the hospital. And my sister had just had my oldest niece, and she wasn't able to make it to the hospital for my sister's delivery. We got to the hospital, my sister had my niece, and came home, and things were okay, were normal. And then all of a sudden, she started getting worse, and she went into the hospital. When she went into the hospital that first week, they kept her for a week, kept her for a couple of days, and I would go back and forth every day to see her, make sure she was okay. And she told me, she said, Sharice, she said, the doctors are going to tell you that I have a mass on my lung. She said, but it's not a mass. She says, I have lung cancer. And I said, okay. You know, I was young. I was only 25. So I didn't quite, you know, I couldn't grasp that at that moment. And then after that, it went down. It started going downhill. And she started preparing us for the worst. And I was at the hospital at least 2 and 3 times in one day. And this particular Saturday, I went to the hospital. And when I walked in the hospital, my mother was sitting up in the bed, but she was not herself. And I knew then that something was going on. And I kept trying to talk her through the process. Like, Mama, you have to wake up. You got to come home, because I can't take care of baby. I don't have kids. You know, this was her first grandchild, so I know nothing about taking care of kids. I was holding her on my chest, holding her head rather on my chest. I leaned her over on my chest, and the words that she could get out, I heard. She told me, she said, Pookie, I love you, and I'm okay. When she said I love you, she took her last breath, and she was ticklish on her feet. We were all ticklish on our feet. And me still not realizing that she had took her last breath, I laid her head, removed her head from my chest, and laid her head on the pillow. And I went to the foot of the bed, and I tickled her feet. And she moved it one time, and that was the last time I seen my mother alive. In the midst of preparing for her funeral and everything, I was at the house with my aunt. She's my mother's youngest sister. And she called me in the bedroom, and she said, your mom and I, we talked about it, and your mother knew. I said, I know. I can tell she knew. And I knew that and I told my auntie, I said, I knew when I was holding her that she was okay at that point. When she said, Pookie, I love you, I knew that she was okay. And she said, yeah, she told me the same thing. She's going to always love you, and don't you ever think anything different. And she said, I don't care what you do and who you do it with. If you're happy, I'm happy. And it felt like God had lifted everything off my shoulders that day. And I have just been me since 1993. I have just been me. Don't do closets, none of that. Closets are for clothes. Can't do that.